I am Sergeant Lee. I am the Military Personnel Flight Chief, and here we have some folks from the FSS that will be here with us. We have Tech Sergeant DiMartino from Airmen and Family Readiness. You have Staff Sergeant Verardi from Career Development. You have Staff Sergeant Jeff Montanard from Force Management. You have Tech Sergeant Shayna Perez Holmes from the Force Development Office. You have our local Wing Career Assistance Advisor, Master Sergeant Nieves. A lot of you may know her, and then we have Master Sergeant Stone coming from Customer Support in just a few minutes. So we have a lot of information to present to you guys today. We also have some background stuff as far as what's on our drive for you guys to be able to look up for how to do some of these things. What our focus was today was really on getting you guys to know where to find this information and the offices that you can come to if you have questions. Ultimately, we're here for you. We're here to help you, but also know that you have CSS staff who are willing to do the work. We train them well. They're great resources to utilize as well. So, digital version of you. Is your record a reflection of you? Why did we want to do this today? Well, the biggest reason is we see a lot of packages come through, whether it's for promotion or they're trying to get wing commander stratification, different things like that. We see different trends, and we thought it would be a good idea to get with you guys, get with the wing and say, hey, this is some of the stuff that we're seeing. This is what you should be looking at in your record, because oftentimes members just don't know. So our goal here is to help you find the information, look for the information so that you can correct the information. First up, let's start with a pop quiz. So who is responsible for making sure your record is updated and accurate? Anyone? You. You, that's right. You, the member, that is correct. No, I got it. How often should you review your record to ensure it's accurate? Annually, or anytime you have a change, correct. At least once per year. Bonus question, does anybody know when that usually is?
Your birthday.
Your birthday. They synchronize it around your birthday month, you'll get a notification. Where should you go to correct your information? Virtual NPF, any other places? MyPay. So various systems, but ultimately your CSS will be able to guide you. If your CSS doesn't know, they'll reach back to us and be able to let you know as well. What do you need to ensure your record is always current? Anyone?
You never know when the next opportunity is coming.
Right, you never, and that's really when it comes down to a lot of the things that we see are people coming to us at the 11th hour, 23rd hour, whatever the phrase is, to say, hey, I need to get this updated, I need a rush on this. If you're constantly checking your record, or at least doing it annually, you know everything that's in there, and you're ready to go whenever that next opportunity may present itself. So what are some impacts to having incorrect, outdated, missing, or poorly written information in your record?
Like if you go for a step board, you might think everything's right, and then it's not, and it's not on record, so that could put you back.
Absolutely. Step boards, missing opportunities, right, for promotions, special duty assignments, senior rater stratification, all of those things can have an impact on making sure that your information is correct. A lot of, again...
Also transfers and maybe people trying to get out or getting a position. There's like you said, man, there's like 20 odd things that impact your records or whatever.
Absolutely. So you, again, always want to make sure that you're checking your record. So because we're FSS, we like our AFIs. I always like to tie it back to an AFI. So per AFI 362608, these are your responsibilities as a member per the AFI. So you should be receiving that record review notification email and checking your record review, right? So we're going into the system and we're making sure that our record is updated. We get that annual notification. It pops up on our screen that we'll see it in the virtual NPF. It'll say, the suspenses that you have available to you. reviewing your data on the record review application, and again, making sure that that information is current. For those items in error where updates links are provided, make the proper corrections. So there's stuff in there that you can do that's self-serve, so get in there and do that. For the items that don't have that self-serve function, that's where your CSS comes into play for assistance. If all information is correct, then no further action is needed. I will say this, in about a year, we're gonna have a new system that's coming out that's going to blend pay and personnel. And one of the cool things about it that's coming along with it is that the members will be able to look in and do a self-service option to be able to review their records, so it'll look a little different from you guys. So again, just another way that the Air Force is letting you know you need to be proactive in making sure that your record is updated and current, okay?
Is this presentation available for download off the shared drive?
No, it is not, but we can.
Okay.
So, any other questions so far? Chief?
How, and I'm guessing retirement too, what kind of like, oh my gosh, have you seen when people come to retire? What are some things that they should have been checking?
A lot of times, some of the things that we'll see, points, updating their points, they think that they have the correct, in their mind, they have the 20 stat years, but they didn't have the 20 stat years because they had a bad year somewhere along the way, so they kind of get a jolt of, oh, I have to continue on. So if you were, reviewing your records, making sure that happens, evaluations, awards, guys, anything you think of?
I'd say that the points is the biggest thing.
The points, yeah. Sergeant already said the points is really the biggest thing. Reduced age retirement, making sure that people are putting in for that if they have the time that qualifies for that as well. Okay?
Thank you.
No problem. So next up, we have Sergeant Perez Holmes from the Force Development Office that's going to go over a few things with you guys.
Thank you. Just enter?
Do you want me to click free? Do you want me to click free?
I'll be the official.
That should be fine. All right, so some of the things that we update in the Force Development Office, or things that you want to show in your career data brief, is any degrees that you've completed. So if you want that, you want to include that in your package, you want to show that you put a lot of hard work into going to school, you need to give us information in order for us to update your PDS, in order for it to show in your career data brief. So we update associate's degrees, bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, doctorate degrees. We accept only official transcripts. You cannot send us a screenshot, an unofficial transcript, a PDF that's not an official transcript. So official sealed transcript, you can either mail it to us, to the office, you could also walk it in. If you need our address, that's our address, but you know where we're located. Feel free to reach out to us anytime, and we can give you that information. Just for FYI, let's say you don't have a civilian degree, but you are working on your CCAF. Anything that you basically do, or the primary things that you do with the Air Force, such as tech school, your 5-7 level ALS, all of that counts towards your CCAF. So if you're doing any civilian schools and you have something that applies to your CCAF, you have to know that you have to mail that into CCAF. It's not something that you can mail into us at the Force Development Office. Again, they only accept official transcripts. They accept e-transcripts as well, but they're the ones that update all those credits for you guys. Once it's in there, then we go ahead and it's not going to no PDS, I've seen some situations, but we can update that in your PDS in order for it to, again, reflect in your data brief. And this is the information for where you would mail it to. And also, CCAF e-transcripts is the fastest way usually to get that to them. And allow at least 1 to 3 months recently for that to get updated. But eventually it does get updated. So just bear with them and they'll get your stuff corrected. This is just a little bit more additional information. Maybe it's a lot, but if you need a transcript from CCAF, there is a way to order it in the system through AFEC. Everybody familiar with AFEC? We should be familiar with AFEC. It is in the portal. If you go into AFEC, CCAF Student Services, there is a tab where you can order your CCAF transcript.
What is Africa stand for again?
Air Force
Virtual
Education Center. Actually, the Air Force Virtual Education Center. But if you need a transcript from CCAF earlier than 2 to 3 weeks, there's other ways to order it, and it's credentialing solutions. You do have to pay for that yourself, but they can expedite that process to you. All right, so next, in your career data brief, when we get this question a lot, have I been upgraded? Do I have my 5 level? Do I have my 7 level? If you look in your career data brief, you're gonna see primary AFSC and secondary AFSC. So your primary AFSC is the AFSC in which you are best qualified. It's not always the AFSC that you're currently working in. So you have to make sure you look at the other one. Maybe second AFSC may be the AFSC you're currently performing. So what you want to look at seems simple, but a lot of people don't know this information. They look at the 4th section of your AFSC, and that's where it will say if you've been upgraded or not. So a 1 skill level means that you haven't gotten a tech school yet. 3 would mean that you're an apprentice, you graduated tech school. 5, you've been awarded your journeyman 5 skill level, and then the 7, which is the craftsman. So always make sure, again, you look at that 4th digit to see if it hasn't been updated. So what is the process of getting your upgrade? We get a lot of calls in the course of the office. Again, what do? Why haven't I been upgraded? Well, it all starts with your supervisor. So your supervisor has to recommend skill level upgrades. They're the ones that also make sure all your tasks are turned off. There may be other requirements for the AFSC. There may be stuff in your CFPTP that needs to be done. So talk to your supervisor. They have all the knowledge of what it is that you need to get that skill level. So when they decide or determine that you filled out all your requirements, they're going to initiate the form 2096. That form goes to the commander. They also have to recommend your upgrade and sign that form. Once that form is signed, it goes back to the unit training manager, and they will review everything, double check that there's nothing missing, and they will update no PDS for your upgrades. Do you have questions about that? No? Report? All right, so make sure your college is updated. Give us your transcript if you want it in your career data brief. Make sure that you're getting your credits updated in CCAF, ordering those transcripts for yourself, or sending transcripts to us for everything to look correct. And when the opportunities do come, everything's going to be, good to go, and you're going to show all the hard work that you've been doing.
I have a question. In regards to like if you take Cleps or Dante's, would you guys be notified of that, or do we have to send in paperwork every time one of those gets completed and you get called for credit?
So those are supposed to be updated automatically. I have heard recently there have been some issues. So on an individual basis, if you have that situation, let us know. We can try to look into it. There are ways to request transfers through their website and stuff, but they should be sending that information directly to the military system. Good. That's it for me.
All set for you if you want to walk around. You do.
Oh, thank you.
All right, absolutely. Here to help.
Hi, I'm Peter Stone, or Sergeant Stone. I'm having our customer support section, so we'll be talking a little bit of what we handle. The three main categories would be the virtual NPN, Prada, and also Neo Connect. Virtual NPN is a really good site to get familiar with. Like there's lots of things you can get out of it. before you come to MTF, you can actually look at the virtual MTF and see if you can get it out of the site. What you can find in there is a data brief, recording awards and decks, and also your VRED. That's where you also go to update your personal information. Mill Connect, that's a site that is not only giving you access to your HGLI, but it also links that takes you to update also some portion of the peers. So it's really good sites to remember those things. The next one. Prada, that's a site that keeps all your real-time records. So when you are into the airport store, the main site, and you look for a link, PRDA, you can even type it in if you kind of not having time to look for those links. In the search bar, you can type in PRDA and it will take you to the link. And all those documentations for your military career should have been scanned in, and it's kept there for you to print out. So if you're missing something, let us know so we can actually send that document over to the product to be scanned. You can review it at any time. It's accessible from your computer. If you have a computer access from home, you can access it from home as well. With the virtual MTF, the main or the most important tab on that is self-service action. That tab, you can go to the next one. That tab is going to give you another sub-links to go through, and it has link to your VRED or your personal information. It has a link to your words and declarations if you like to see how your weapon should be put together. There is a link to your statement of service. All kind of things are there. You just have to get logged into it and get familiar with it. It's very good tool to actually go into and see. And get the next one.
Yes, sir.
With the individual tab, which is on the top, that tab's going to take you to a screen where you update your attendance, where you update your address when you move. And if you do so, that input will flow to a MIL-PDS system, which is the military system that we use as a personalized. And the MIL-PDS flows it over to the peers. So if you like to change the address, you don't have to come to the ID office, to the dealer's office to change your address. You can do it from your chair, from virtual MTF site, and it flows to those systems. But you have to remember one thing. The virtual MTF update does not communicate with the finance. So if you move, you need to remember to go to your Alias and update the address also on the Alias. So those two agencies are up to date. Can I get the next one? All right, so this is the information. I put a smiley face on it because that's a PII, but it should let you know all your defendants' addresses if they correct. If not, you can always edit those things and save the changes. Can I have the next one? All right. For Mill Connect, the main reason why you go to Mill Connect is the HGLI. HGLI is not a paper copy anymore. It's all virtual. So when you go to the Mill Connect and you tap on a top tab that says benefits, it will take you to the SOES, which is the HGLI online application. So when you do the applications online, it flows to finance, and that's practically how it's being done these days. If you have a paper copy, you have to make sure that you're going to go to Mill Connect at some point and do the virtual version of it. When your orders over 90 days, your HGLI will be automatically going to the $400,000. But if you like to go lesser than that, you have to go to Mill Connect and change it. There is also tabs on the bottom that takes you to different links. As I was saying, there is a tiers. So if you like to update tiers, certain portion of the tiers, you can click on it and do the input. If you have a spouse, You can't really add spouse to the new connected deals, but what you can do is nominate. So you will input the informations to that site as far as the name goes, date of marriage, date of birth of your spouse, and you submit that request. It will tell you to come to my office or to Deal's office with the source documents, and then you can reinstate your input and do the final step to add your spouse in a deal. Same thing applies if you have a child. You can nominate, put the information through the Will Connect down, and you'll flow to deals. It's going to create almost like a temporary folder for your spouse or child, and then it makes us to scan the source document, reinstate the input, and then the addition is done. So the Will Connect is very super as well. Let's say you have a spouse that needs an ID card, and you can't come with the spouse to get an ID. Well, you can go on Will Connect. There is a tab for military IDs, and you can create online 1172 and digitally sign. Once it's done, it flows to Peter. So when your spouse comes to the Peter's office, they can pull the 1172 that you create from the Will Connect and use it as a document to issue the ID card. There is also different tabs to update your personal information. There is, I don't even see, there is so many of those. It's kind of blurry. Publish to goals. Manage HGLI. What else is in there?
Retrieve my correspondence.
What is it?
You got proof of health care, health coverage.
Healthcare. Yes, that's also one thing. If you like to create or actually print your medical card, you can get it from Will Connect. Your dental card can be from Will Connect. So you misplace your card, you have to actually contact the tracker to get replacement. You can go on Will Connect and you can print your medical card or dental card from Will Connect. That's also a good thing to know. As I say, that those things, they offer you so much on those sites, so it's good to go on it and get familiar with that. It would take me hours to talk about what you can do on those sites, but we don't have that time. So remember just those three sites: Virtual MPF, Will Connect, and PRDA, product. Those are the main, I would say, ways to go and review if you have time. All right?
You have a question?
What is it?
So when I go to Will Connect to update my address, does that automatically feed the same system Virtual MPF does?
The Will Connect system flows only to Deers. However, Virtual MPF flows to Will PDS, which flows to Deers, and it updates also to product. So the Virtual MPF is the best way to update address. Will Connect is mostly used to update the address in Deers, I would say for retirees, because it has to do with Will PDS. But the Will Connect is good to nominate dependents if they have. Of course, they can do the change of the address as well in Deers, but however, they do not recognize it if they do not know on orders. The arrows is not fitted by that site somehow. It doesn't flow. That's a weakness in the past. So, for reservists, Virtual MPF would be the best way to go and update the address. And then Alias, because finance needs to be updated as well somehow.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Where do you update your Alias?
Alias?
Yes.
When you go to Alias, there is a tab that says correspondence. So you put the address in and a zip code, and in 5 business days, it's being updated with the finance. If you don't do it, you can always log in the finance and do it with them. But you can do virtually even faster with the Alias online. You know what?
Is that on my page?
My page, that's Alias, yes.
Oh,
my
okay.
page. Oh, yeah.
I've never heard it referred to Alias.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. I apologize. Yeah, so it's in my page website. That's the Alias. Are you related to the Air Force?
No, I'm fully tracking. I wasn't sure if there was some new system that came out where Alias is.
Oh, I apologize. Yeah, there is so many abbreviations that I get. So, yes, I apologize. So it's in my page. Yes, sir.
No, I just wanted to point out something that might be useful in Mill Cadet.
Yes.
You can transfer benefits for that.
Oh, yes.
For the
Yes, benefit, you know,
GI.
yes, yes, benefit. You can do it, yes.
Yes.
That site allows you to do it. But again, you have to recognize the dependent in a year.
Yes.
So there is a catch to it. If the dependent coming years, you have to still count the years and the dependent, and they can do, then you can do the transfer of the GI Bill. Any other questions about those topics? All right, next thing, we have points. Anybody is coming from the financial service asking to be, sir, you coming from the, are you familiar with the point system? Oh, you've been here forever. All right, I was thinking about you, big folks. All right, so the points are, in the reserves, you have to have a good year, you know that, and good year is actually 50 good points per your R&R year, not a counter year or physical year, it's your R&R year. So you have to have a good 50 points to have a good year. So thank you. As a reservist, you get always 15 points as a membership points on your anniversary year. And then if you do your annual tour, and if you do your UTAs, that adds up over 50 points. So if you do your annual tour and your UTAs, you always exceed those minimum points. On the UTA, you're earning 2 points per day. So Saturday and Sunday always give you 4 points. On any other activity, if you're in school or you want ADAS or a deploy, it's 1 point per day. UPA is the only status that gives you the double. Right. And how you can get your points? Again, you can go to your virtual MPF. You can log in to your self-service action, your personal data, and then look for ANG and USAFR points. Those points should be accurate, however, if before your closing date of the R&R date, there might be some delay. So if you need something urgently to get your current points and update it, you can contact your CSS or you can contact the customer support, and we can get you the points from the new TDS site, because that also captured your points, which are before closing of the R&R year. Any questions about the points? All right, thank you.
Good luck.
Okay, I'm Staff Sergeant Gardy. I work at Career Development. We're going to be going over how to check your career databases for promotion eligibility, and then the difference between your higher tenure and the retirement. So your career database is a great place to check all the requirements for promotion. It doesn't show all the eligibility requirements, but the stuff that you as a member have control over as far as checking it. If you want to know the breakdown of what each rank needs for like the eligibility requirements for each rank, you can contact your CSS office. They have a promotion eligibility checklist. Or you can also check AFI 36-2502. And that will have all the promotion eligibility requirements. But what shows up on your career data brief is your time and grade, which is your date of rank, your PME, your satisfactory service, your skill level, your ETS, and your EPR and decoration information. So this is just an example of your career data brief, and each section will have, it's pretty self-explanatory. It has your promotion information, your PME information, your service dates, your EPR information. Pretty much, just again, like as a member, your responsibility in making sure this information is correct. So if you think that something is wrong, a career data brief is where you want to check it, and then you can bring that up to your supervision. If you're showing up as ineligible, and you have, let's say, you're showing up as ineligible because you don't have a 7 level, showing that you have a 5 level, but you know you have a 7 level, then you can check your career data brief and then also contact the offices that you need to get that fixed. And then this is just a second part of your career data brief that will have your AFSC information. So see the primary AFSC, I don't know if you guys can see it, but it'll have your current primary AFSC, your academic information.
And missing signature, that's another one, because when they do things in BBC, for some reason they always upload the wrong form and goes to the RPC, and the RPC, they don't do all the evaluations, they only review a percentage of it. So yours might go to Prada without a signature. Now you have to go and review it and do a ERAP to fix it. That's the reason why before you upload anything and send it to the RPC, you need to review, make sure everything is correct, and then you can submit it to the RPC.
Thank you.
Any questions?
About the PT, it doesn't matter what score you get. You just
No, the only time you talk about PT on evaluation is if you are PTL. So if your job is a PTL, you can talk about it, but you cannot talk about your PT score. And another time you can talk about it is like if you are a member that failed PT, you can say that they're getting referral because they failed PT, but you're not supposed to mention the score and stuff like that. Any other questions? Thank you.
All right, I'm up next. So I'm Sergeant Yavis. Good afternoon. I am your Wayne Career Advisor here at Westover, for the next 20-something days, to the end of the month. And then it's an AGR position, so my tour is up, you'll get somebody new. Whatever the case is, they're still gonna be the career advisor over in 1875 and an AGR full-time. So if you need assistance or if you remember need assistance, of course, like anything else, make sure you utilize your new career advisor, your lead being a new career advisor, but if you get too crazy, too hectic, we are here Monday through Friday, and I say we because somebody's there for 6 years, but it is a one-person team. Well, these are the kind of things that we're going to go over, so SRPs, re-enlistment codes, ETS, MSOs, what's the difference between the two, retraining, and just mentioning bonuses real quick, and then opening up the questions. So with the SRPs, you could just hit all the, there's one more. So with SRPs, just so you guys are aware, I started with SRPs because you're kind of in the military already, so where it really all starts for me as retention, our career advisors is that SRP start. So with that, that is sent out, it's a selective re-enlistment process. So that is sent out 14 months out ahead of time to your unit career advisors. They have 7 months to get that back to me, and what it is, I should have probably put it up there, but I didn't, so you guys can see what it looks like. It's a piece of paper memorandum that the supervisor signs, the unit commander signs, and ultimately you as a member, you sign as well. And you just want to be aware of it, because a lot of times people aren't aware that this comes out and their ETS is coming up, which you should all know that the ETS is coming up is not exactly what's on your ID card, but please don't go off of that. And we'll touch base on that in a second. But SRPs that come out 14 months, like I said, is due back to 7 months. It's just to let the member know what the supervisory commander think. Are they a good asset? Are they going to allow them to re-enlist? Right? Because re-enlisting is not a privilege. It's a privilege, right? It's not that they have to approve it, meaning the commander, and then the member, you make your decision and let us know what you're going to do, if you're going to stay or get out type of thing. But at least you're aware and you know where the commander stands, and are no surprise when it's time to re-enlist. Some of the codes that you'll see in your virtual agreement, if you go in, and are the most common is YY and I9, and people will call with the I9 because that says that you're not eligible to re-enlist. That doesn't mean that you got denied re-enlistment. It just means that it's not your time yet to decide whether you're going to re-enlist or not, because once again, that RIP comes out 14 months, and then once I get it back somewhere between that 14 months that I said suspended on, and that 7 months that it's due, at that time is when I update it to whatever code that you decided with is either 5A, right, because you decided that you're going to stay, 5B because you decided that you're undecided, or 5L saying that you want to get out. That's when you see the code switch, but please don't be afraid of saying 99. That just means it's not your time, you're not in the zone to re-enlist or consider for re-enlistment, but that does not mean that you're not going to be able to re-enlist. And that's the chart right there, you guys see those are the most common codes that you see in your virtual MPF. Any questions there? So your ETS and MSL, does anybody know the difference? Easiest way, we'll start with non-fire or non-fire, coming into the reserve, what is going to be their ETS?
8 years from enlistment date.
What is it?
8 years from enlistment date.
That's their MSO. ETS is going to be 6, right? So their ETS is going to be 6 years automatically as non-fire. You come into the reserve, you have 6 years mandated, pretty much you're signing after 6 years, right? But then your ETS, your MSO, is your military service obligation date, is that 8-year mark that he talked about, right? Because everybody knows when you first join the military, you're joining and you're living 8 years in. Yes, you do your 6 years in a sense of participating, but then those last 2 years, if you decide to get out, you sit in the IRR, right? That's why most of the time people, when they're ETSing out, we ask them, did you do 6 years, did you do 8? And that's gonna make a difference, because if you only did 6, you're still part of the military, you're gonna go into the IRR for another 2 years. If not, you did 8, then you'll be discharged and you have no affiliation with the military. So understanding the two, because when it's time for re-enlistment, it's really your ETS that you wanna look at, not your MSL, okay? Any questions on that? The ETS, you can find, if you're not sure when you enlisted, you go to the spotter, right? They told you how to get there. Look up for your DD-44, hopefully it's in there, it should be there. If it's not, I promise you it's not my doing. I make sure that everything gets sent out. It might be me, but just come and reach out to the career advisor, so that way you can be your unit career advisor. They'll notify the group, which will notify me, because I'm the one that does all the mailing, meaning the career advisor does all the mailing, to get put into your file record. So for whatever reason you don't see your DD-44 there, just make sure that you reach out to your CSS, your unit career advisor, so they can help you out there. Like I said though, your ETS is going to be whatever you enlisted. So your DD-44, the date of your enlistment, the numbers you did it, right? So if you did 3 years, add 3 years to that date minus the day. So if you did December 14th for 3 years, right, and we're 21, so you're looking at December 2024, okay? And that's really important, because when it comes to re-enlistment, like she said, the promotion, that's probably when I'm gonna spend a little bit more time, like I have been talking, is because promotion is really big, right? Or orders, like in your orders right now, it might be kicked back because the member doesn't have the retainability. How are you gonna put somebody for orders in September, but their ETS is in July? So making sure the members are aware that, you're aware of that, because that will prevent them from promoting and orders and things of that nature. So, and making sure that they do it in a timely manner and not wait till the last minute. The ETS roster is put out on the SharePoint as well, under our unit, so working on that chapter, the career advisor link here is not live yet. They can go to that? They can go to it. Yeah, so at the SharePoint, there is an ETS roster out there for everybody to look at, as well as the easiest way. Retraining. So retraining is knowing that there's that opportunity out there, making sure that you as a member know that you can retrain, making sure you let your members know that they can retrain, right? That's an option out there. So how do we do that? There's a couple of different, right? So you have volunteer retraining, which is you want to volunteer and you want to get a new job, trying to do a new trade type of thing. And then there's the involuntary side. I'm really just going to talk on the voluntary side because this is for you to know. And the involuntary, that's you didn't pass tech school probably, and that would be dealt separately. But for this purpose, I want you to know the volunteer side of the house. So to retrain, once again, is just going to your career advisor. If you're unsure what you want to do, they're there to assist you to kind of help you narrow it down, give you some homework to do, and you guys will look up and see kind of where you want to do, where you go to do those things. On the next, you're just going. So I'll walk you through kind of where you can go and look at to see if we have a vacancy, and then I'll tell you the process. So if you want to retrain, your career advisor should be showing you where to go to look at what we have available here at Westover. I'm sorry, there is no list that has every agency at Westover just on one sheet that we can hand out, as well as there is no list that just says Westover. So it is going to take a little bit of time if you don't know where you want to go. But either way, you're going to go into the portal, you're going to click on those quick links. Once you get there, you want to type in AFPC, and you want to get the secure site. Once you get there, you're going to go into RMBS. And then once you click that, you don't need to go to the next screen, or next slide, sorry. So once you click on the RMBS link, it's going to bring up another website. At that point, you want to click all vacancies, and that will give you the drop down for all the vacancies that are in the Air Force. So you really have to look at the AFSC and know what you really want, because it's not like you can click on it and say Westover. It's, I want to be a personnel, let's see if Westover is a position at Westover. I want to be, in Squadron. What's the AFSC and that goes by AFSC? So you really need to look at the AFSCs and see if there's something available at Westover. And at that point, you can volunteer. And then once you do that and you figure out what you want to do, that's when you're going to head over to your CSS. Okay, your CSS is going to start your 3920 and 2096, which is what you need to get started. And then you have to request your 422. So just knowing that you should go to your CSS is what I really want you guys to take away to make sure that you do your paperwork.
How accurate is that? Because there's so many jobs on there that you click on it and there's nothing, no information to contact, the personnel.
So that should be pretty accurate, up to date, because that kind of updates that how it works when somebody gets out, that position shows up. Sergeant Real looks at that on a weekly basis, so that should be up to date. So if it's a position here at Westover, any position in general, if you have a question in POC, know that base, Force Management takes care of it. You can reach out to them and they can give you a contact person, as well as reaching out to Sergeant Rios here or Sergeant Montanar, they both work Force Management, and reaching out to them and they can give you the number if it's at another base. If it's here at Westover, it's them that you're going to reach out to. But yeah, it should, not it always have a name and a POC and a number, but most bases deal with it just like we do. So if you're going to come here to Force Management, you're going to go to Force Management over there, but they should be able to give you the information, the number if needed. Any other questions?
Is there anything that disqualifies you from trying to look for another AFSC? Any time of service, age, or anything like that?
Good. Well, you have to have 24 months from the time that you graduated your tech school. So I get a lot of non-priors that want to retrain, and it's only been a year and a half or so. So you definitely need 24 months from the time you graduated from tech school. You also need 3 years retainability. Because I get people that want to retrain, but then they're like, I thought I could retrain, and I only have another year and a half in my investment. The Air Force is not going to pay for you if they're not going to get anything back, right? So you need to have 3 years retainability. And of course, every AFSC is going to be different, so AFSCs require you never to have a mental issue, right? Because you're like 3 forces, you're holding a weapon, so we can't have that. Some require you to have your color vision, you can't be colorblind. Some you'd be surprised, but some even require a height. So that could be specific to the AFSC, but just in general, overall, you just need 24 months from the time you graduate high school and then 3 years retainability. If you're doing it for the second time, meaning it's your third AFSC, you have to reach your current AFSC that you're in, that second one you retrain into, that has to be your primary. And once that becomes your primary, then you can retrain into a third one, being that it's been 24 months after you graduated high school. Any other questions? Thank you.
My name is Sergeant DiMartino with Airman and Family Readiness. I only have one slide with that. So this is probably something that would take about an hour or two to actually go through, and could potentially be more of an individualized program. On the outside, of the civilian side, I run a recruiting consulting company in the digital infrastructure space. So every week, I probably see dozens of different resumes, which I guess qualifies me now to be someone to educate others on how to actually write a resume and craft it. A lot of people have seen a military format style, but to do a civilian style resume requires a little more massaging of words and really trying to, the biggest thing, especially coming from the military side, is being able to translate your military experience, which could be a lot of what you have, to your civilian side. So at some point in the next couple of weeks, maybe for the next UTA, we'll have a resume writing class that I can actually do. We're going through a beta test on Sunday, tomorrow. But ultimately, the biggest thing is going to be giving you some of the resources and tools. So the sites that you would use, like VMAT, to translate your military experience into civilian terms that a random person at Johnson & Johnson or some bank would say, oh, that makes a whole lot of sense what you could do from a procurement perspective versus throwing a lot of acronyms and military words in there. But that should be coming down the pipe probably like next month. We'll have that done, either doing it in teams or potentially doing a class over here. I also partnered with somebody that does resume writing as a full-time job, and I'd love to get that person over here as well, so we can go through how to write your resume, how to structure it, how to use LinkedIn, which is becoming probably more important than an actual resume tool. More often than not, I don't even send people's resumes in to prospective clients when they have open opportunities, because people don't really do resumes as much anymore, because LinkedIn is such an awesome tool, and you can really port a PDF of your whole entire profile. And it's funny, people tend to use LinkedIn a lot more because it's easier to fill in, gives you a lot of prompts and understanding, versus here's a blank template, what do I do to actually, where do I start, where's my objective and all that. And your LinkedIn profile, a lot of times, is just a complete amalgamation of your whole entire bio, so people like using that a lot more. So I can go through a whole course on how to build a LinkedIn profile, how to port that into a resume type of setting if you needed it for a specific thing. If you want to do an executive bio, if you're applying for a senior level role or board level position, so there's a whole host of things we can do there. A lot of it, as much as there's a broad opportunity to do a big class for it, if anyone ever needs individualized training, so Airman and Family Readiness does that. We can't write resumes for you, but if you came in and said, hey, I have a bunch of questions, here's my resume, what do you think? Is there formatting issues or suggestions you want to make? Is there grammatical stuff, punctuations? Is it overly wordy? Is it too much? That stuff we can certainly help with. Cover letters are also another thing. Again, we can't write it for you, but can help you craft it to a specific position that you're applying for. So we love when people come in, give us an opportunity to play around, work with this, and sit and talk to people and see what their interests are. We also do some of this briefing during our initial counseling and precept. So if you are coming up active duty orders, you'll get some variation of this. It'll be a little bit smaller, but it'll go through some of the important links and where to look, like I said, VMAT being one of them, and some other ones. But more to follow. And if you have some specific individualized questions, if you are applying for a job in the near future and you want someone to give an extra set of eyes to what you have, by all means, please stop in. We're in the same building as the chapel. We also have really close house chairs, so if you get stressed out, you can hang out there for a little bit. That is all.
So that's all we have for you guys. Does anybody have any questions for us? Anything that we went over? Anything maybe, whoa.
Watch out.
I almost died. Anything we did not go over that you want to further discuss? If you want, and it's more of a personal thing, we can also talk offline. We have our phone numbers listed for each work center, as well as our email addresses to be able to reach out to us. So any questions?
After the first part.
Apostrophe D. Now, if you do apostrophe D on one word, has to be throughout. So very sparingly, if you literally just need that one extra letter to get that awesome word, you want to abbreviate just one word in there, you can get away with it, but they do like to see all of them abbreviated. So if you're going to abbreviate that, program can be short. Oh, how do you do that to program? CRGM. Is there an S at the end of that? Sorry.
No.
No, okay.
CAP is a
Selected apostrophe M.
Ooh, we can also, and then where would we put CAP?
CAP here at the end of CPR would be abbreviation.
Yep, exactly. That helps save a ton of space, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Collected apostrophe D.
Nice. What about members?
MPR.
You guys are pros already. I'm loving it. What about this? What can we do for this?
backslash.
Dash or slash or.
With for and with,
It's going to be the letter / the next word, no space in between. Some people have used to do that where there was a space in the middle. There isn't now. It's just F / word or W / word.
So another thing to consider, I can't stand this, it's so frustrating sometimes. But we're gonna leave it like this and go over a few other things. What happened to our double dash? Anybody notice that? Magic happened, right? When you copy and paste this into your form, this is gonna go. Make sure you look at that and change it in the EPR form.
One more thing is the apostrophe. It is a different font from your Word doc than your EPR doc. So when you have the apostrophe in there, go back into your EPR and fix it, because that takes up extra room. Put it into the EPR font. So just take it away, add it back in.
What do you think? How do you like it? Beautiful, right? It's amazing what you can do when you put all the info down on paper. That's why we recommend that you do these drafts. You don't have to, whatever way works for you. But for me, I know I'm very visual, so I'm like, heck yeah, I want to see everything, so I can also go back to it. What I will say, one of the most common mistakes, people will do this, delete everything out and start. Save it, right? Save it, because then you have all that extra information. And who's to say you don't end up using this bullet? Now you have it for something else, you know? So just make sure you save these. And it's also just good practice just to rip through it. So how do you guys like this exercise before we move on?
Okay.
So a couple more slides Dr. Rowe's going to go through with you if I can work technology. I've got like 40.
Another reason to keep your old stuff is because you don't want the award packages for that member to look identical to their EPR. Give them credit where credit is due elsewhere. So if there's a quarterly package, you're going to write for that quarter, we'll save that. Now you've got information for the EPR 2 years later, or however long till their EPR is due. So keep a running tally, essentially. Resources, we've already discussed a few of these. You've got your peers, your supervisors. These Word docs are always awesome to go back to and look at. Tongue and Quill is always going to be your resource reference for the Air Force. Work Center bullet listing. We have, some shops do build their own. They're going to take a compilation of what they've done for previous EPRs, OPRs. I've also built one in my shop where I have from previous EPRs, but also from a later source. You can see EPRbullets.com. So I put them all in there. They're just good starting places. You don't want to sit there and copy verbatim because, one, it's not going to be your unit. You got to change the unit. Numbers. You want to put in the exact numbers that apply to your member, and you want to tailor it to the mission here, not to the mission of where that bullet came from.
The example.
No.
We were reviewing an EPR for someone, and I'm like, they didn't change the unit, so I looked up the AFSC. I found the exact bullet in EPRbullets.com. So if you're using it, be very careful, because the formatting is not always correct. As she said, the unit is not always correct. So if you got good reviewers, they should be able to find those, but it's pretty funny when you do. Use it. Don't reinvent the wheel, right? There's resources out there. Use them, but just use them carefully, right? Check your formatting, check your units, and make sure it's actually correct and following along with Sergeant Rowe said. Giving credit where credit is due, but make sure it's their credit. Don't just pull from EPRbullets.com or whatnot and just use it. So,
Pretty great resources if you get stuck on a word. We all sometimes, we're constantly looking at the wording and where to go, and I'm like, man, I wish there was a word and I can't think of it. And you can go to those things and like, oh, there's a word that would fit. But again, you have to make sure that that word that you're using fits with your sentence, right, or your bullet. But they are good resources if you get stuck on a word.
And also be careful with the words that you do pick out of places like the thesaurus.com or Word Hippo. It may look nice and fancy. Oh, this is not one that we use every day in the English language. It's going to be cool. It'll be cool for 5 seconds because the next person who reads the EPR, or if that EPR goes up to a board for that member, somebody's going to read that and go, I don't know that language. I don't know what that word means. So use a word that is understood. Any other questions for us today? Well, thank you so very much for coming out. We greatly appreciate it. We appreciate your assistance in participating, and I hope that bullet works for you.
And if anybody needs any of these resources, I can't stress it enough. The professional development team, we are growing, we are getting awesome. If you yourselves or if you know somebody who's like super awesome with a topic, please get with us. Next month is going to be a super cool one. It's going to be the digital version of you. We all have records, right? Do we know what they mean? Do we know the importance of them? Well, that's what you're going to find out next month. So check out the app. In July, we're also going to be doing the speed mentoring table. So we need your feedback. If you want any topics covered, or if you yourself want to cover a topic, please, please, please email us. If you need any of this information, but there's a lot of resources on our app that we're updating, such as we've got awesome public affairs here supporting us. So thank you very much, and thank you guys for coming, and hopefully we'll see you next month.
All right, thank you.